Hey everyone, I'm Alpha Lance with the Leaderboard, and today we're going to go over the rough timeline of the Overwatch organization. We do know, however, that Overwatch is approximately 60 years in the future. Sometimes we get snippets saying X numbers of years ago, which help us out greatly, but please bear in mind that even though a great deal of this is speculation, we are doing the best dang speculation that we dang can for you. First up, the pre-war era, estimated to be about 2045 or earlier, over 30 years before Overwatch reunites. In a more peaceful time in our near future, approximately 20 or 30 years before the period in which the game takes place, humanity begins to reach out and test their boundaries. The Horizon lunar colony is approved and construction of humanity's first home on the moon begins. Back on Earth, OMNIC Corporation proposes the construction of artificial intelligence factories called Omniums that'll produce specialty robots designed to help humanity with a variety of tasks, and they are welcomed by global society and completely integrated into everyday life. Around this same time, the SST laboratories begin manufacturing siege automatons with the ability to transform into a variety of powerful forms, and they call these Bastions. Unfortunately, the Omniums produce less than promised number of Omnics, and evidence of fraud forces the dissolution of the OMNIC Corporation and the shutdown of its intelligence factories. Even more unfortunately, the Omniums really did not like that. The OMNIC Crisis, estimated 2046, approximately 30 years before Overwatch reunites. Seemingly on their own, the Omniums reactivate and begin to seek revenge against humanity by constructing Bastion units and other war machines. The OMNIC Crisis throws the world into chaos, quickly becoming the most dangerous threat humanity has ever faced. Even with a common enemy, the world refuses to come together, with each country responding to the threat in their own way. Russia builds the giant Svyatogor mechs, Germany trains the Crusaders and their power armor suits, and America starts the soldier enhancement programs, to name a few. Many battles were fought and heroes from various nations arose. Among these powerful figures were the legendary Baldric von Alder, leader of the Crusaders, and Adabu Ungumi, the savior of Numbani, though you may know him by his other title, Doomfist. No, not the Doomfist you play in matches, not that guy, but the first incarnation, back when he was a good guy. Despite the world's best attempts, it becomes clear that the OMNIC Crisis was not one humanity could win by conventional means. In a last-ditch effort, the United Nations assembles a special task force of the world's finest, a small, nimble team aimed at striking significant blows against OMNIC strongholds with surgical precision, and the group was called Overwatch. At this time, the OMNIC forces in Germany invade Stuttgart. The Crusaders and German forces manage to force them back to Eichenwald Castle, and in the ensuing battle, Baldric is mortally wounded. His final order is for his second-in-command, Lieutenant Reinhard Wilhelm, to take his place in Overwatch. The founding of Overwatch, estimated to be year 2051, approximately 25 years before Overwatch reunites. With Gabriel Reyes as the commander, Anna Amari, Reinhard Wilhelm, Torbjorn Lindholm, Jack Morrison, and a soldier named Lau form the original Overwatch strike team. With Overwatch at the helm, humanity finally begins to turn the tide of war. During an operation in Istanbul, Torbjorn is severely injured and loses his arm, but Reinhard manages to save him. As thanks, Torbjorn lets Reinhard name his next-born child, and later that year, Brigitta Lindholm is born. End of the OMNIC Crisis. Estimated 2056, approximately 20 years before Overwatch reunites. Through years of effort, Overwatch is able to bring about a ceasefire and a much-needed peace. Its members are praised as the saviors of humanity, and war seems to be a thing of the past. Rogue Omnics are still a problem, though, like the colossal monstrosity that keeps terrorizing South Korea. The continued chaos forces Overwatch to stick around as an international peacekeeping force. Overwatch builds facilities around the world and recruits soldiers and scientists to develop technology and a fighting force. It's during this time that Angela Ziegler, aka Mercy, is brought along. Jesse McCree is also recruited, or rather coerced, to leave the Deadlock Gang and join the Overwatch team. Then, to Gabriel Reyes' dismay, Jack Morrison is appointed the strike commander of Overwatch. The golden age of Overwatch, estimated to be 2057, approximately 19 years before Overwatch reunites. After years of growth, Overwatch decides to prioritize global stability above all else, and the world is happy to have them. Rogue Omnics, terrorists, warmongering dictators, none of them can stand for long against the capable
capable, dedicated force of Overwatch. They help any way they can, from natural disaster response to heroic rescue operations and rebuilding initiatives. With advances in medicine, Overwatch eradicates epidemics, and its ecological branch works to reverse damage at eco-points around the world, including the one we know best, Eco Point Antarctica. For an entire generation, Overwatch is seen as the best of humanity. After the OMNIC crisis, humans and OMNICs worked together to build one of the world's greatest and most technologically advanced cities. Built in the country of Nigeria, Numbani is erected as the City of Harmony, a place where humans and machines can live together as equals. Up in the Himalaya mountains, a group of OMNICs led by Takarta Mandata experience what they describe as a spiritual awakening. They construct the Shambhali Monastery with the hope of healing the wounds of humans and OMNICs through peaceful meditation and teachings. This is the home of our own Takarta Zenyatta. Unfortunately, conflict and fighting still threaten the peace. After the OMNIC crisis, the Australian government gives the Australian Omnium back to the OMNIC community. While this is meant as an olive branch, it displaces many native humans who fought to win their homes back, and the disgruntled humans form the Australian Liberation Front and attack the Omnium in hopes of shutting it down. As a result, the Omnium's fusion core melts down, turning the outback into an irradiated wasteland. One of the members of the Australian Liberation Front, Mako Rutledge, aka Roadhog, watches his fellow Australians turn mad as they revert to a backward barbaric lifestyle, and over time Roadhog himself loses his humanity as well. But hey, at least he's got a nice garage in the outskirts of town, and one of the only vehicles that still has tires on it. You notice that? Everything else floats, but his motorcycle, his Roadhog, is got tires. In the following years, up above the Earth, the apes lead a rebellion on the Horizon lunar colony. The genetically modified apes turn on the scientists and throw them out the airlock. Winston escapes on a rocket back to Earth and finds a new home with Overwatch. At the same time, unbeknownst to Winston, the clever Hammond, a genetically modified hamster of the Horizon lunar colony project, stows away on Winston's escape rocket. His makeshift trailer disconnects early and crash lands just outside Junkertown, the city built out of the destroyed Australian Omnium. The beginning of Overwatch's end, estimated to be year 2067, approximately 9 years before Overwatch reunites. Our next big stamp in the timeline is the massive polar ice storm that hits Eco Point Antarctica. The scientists stationed there, including May, are trapped for so long that they risk starvation. Their rations run dangerously low and they can't receive supplies because of the storm. So to save resources and wait out the storm, they enter cryostasis. Around this time, the head of the Shimada ninja clan, Shojiro Shimada, dies, leaving his oldest son, Hanzo Shimada, to take his place. The clan elders pressure Hanzo to kill his younger brother, the playboy Genji Shimada, who uses the clan's power and wealth for his own indulgences and entertainment. Hanzo and Genji fight in what we can only assume is the most epic sword fight imaginable, and in the end, Genji is struck down. Filled with grief, Hanzo gives up the sword and the clan and flees to seek redemption, as he has probably told you 20 times. But spoiler alert, Genji didn't die. Mercy was apparently close enough to rescue him, and with the help of Overwatch, Genji was saved. As compensation, Genji helped take down the crime gang that betrayed him. Also, around this time, ace pilot Lena Oxton flies the first test of Overwatch's experimental fighter jet, the Slipstream, and goes missing along with the jet. Moira Otiorain is kicked out of the scientific community for her controversial genetics research. She is eventually recruited by Overwatch's covert operations unit, Blackwatch. A few months later, Lena Oxen is discovered alive, but with chronal disassociation, a disease caused by her failed experimentation with the Slipstream. With her molecules out of sync with the timeline, Lena would appear and reappear randomly, never able to maintain her physical form. It appeared that Lena would be forever forced to roam the Earth as some sort of ghost. That is, until a scientist gorilla named Winston developed the Chronal Accelerator, a device capable of anchoring Lena to the present, all but negating the negative effects of chronal disassociation. The new device also gives her the ability to manipulate the speed and flow of her own time. With her newfound abilities, Lena Oxen becomes Tracer, and Winston becomes her new best friend. Things start to take a dark turn when an Overwatch facility in Oslo, Norway is attacked. Jack Morrison makes a statement that Overwatch believes they know the identity of the attackers, but they won't disclose it to the public. The Venice Incident, the first Blackwatch mission, estimated to be the year 2068, approximately 8 years before Overwatch reunites. Overwatch is fully aware the attack was perpetrated by the terrorist group Talon. The team forms a plan to counterattack and capture the man behind the operation, Talon's leader Antonio Bartolotti. Gerard Lacroix, an informant for Blackwatch, discloses the location of Bartolotti's headquarters in Venice, Italy, right before another attack destroys Watchpoint Rome. The Rome attack leaves many dead and Gerard gravely injured. The members of Blackwatch, Reyes, McCree, Genji, and Moira head to Venice to capture Antonio Bartolotti. After successfully infiltrating his offices, Bartolotti brags to the Blackwatch group about how his arrest will mean nothing since his contacts will get him out. This turns out to be a really dumb move, as it prompts Reyes to shoot him out a window, consequently transforming Blackwatch into a hit squad. Bartolotti's death creates a power vacuum in Talon, unintentionally boosting Maximilian, a treacherous underworld OMNIC, and the new Doomfist Akande Ungundimu to new heights. The mission also reveals the existence of Blackwatch to the public, which in turn causes the public's trust in Overwatch to waver. The OMNIC Uprising event, estimated to be 2069, approximately 7 years before Overwatch reunites. The following year, an OMNIC extremist group, Null Sector, kidnaps Shambali leader Takarta Mandata, London's Mayor Nanda, and 100 people, holding them hostage in a power plant in Kings Row, England. And with the UK Prime Minister refusing to let Overwatch operate within British borders, the hostages are put in some serious danger. After some encouraging words from Tracer, Strike Commander Morrison disregards the Prime Minister and dispatches Mercy, Reinhardt, Torbjorn, and Tracer, who's on her first mission, to Kings Row. After continuously failing to assassinate Gerard Lacroix, Talon kidnaps his wife Amelie Lacroix. They submit her to neural reconditioning and torture her to turn her into a sleeper agent. Overwatch rescues Amelie, but not before the damage has already been done. 2 weeks later, she kills her husband Gerard in her sleep. Overwatch is led to believe that Talon murdered both Gerard and Amelie, and in reality Amelie escaped and returned to Talon of her own free will to complete her training as an assassin and to become Widowmaker. Off in the Black Forest of Germany, a Bastion unit reactivates after 20 years of dormancy, with its combat programming mostly left offline. Meanwhile, in the city of Nimbani, Doomfist embarks on a terrorist rampage. With the help of Tracer, Genji, and Winston, but mostly Winston, Overwatch captures Doomfist and throws him into the Helix maximum security prison. That year, Ana Amari loses a sniper showdown with the infamous Widowmaker and is presumed dead. Upon recognizing Widowmaker as Amelie Lacroix, Ana pauses for just a second too long, costing her an eye and the will to fight, and apparently the will to tell her loved one she's also alright and just really needed the vacation. The blows to Overwatch pile on as the United Nations authorizes a secret investigation of Overwatch and the now publicly known Blackwatch. The fall of Overwatch, estimated to be year 2070, approximately 6 years before Overwatch reunites. After the investigation, it is publicly revealed that Blackwatch, under Overwatch's leadership, committed an array of crimes including assassinations, coercion, kidnappings, torture, and worse. The public view of Overwatch completely degenerates as people call for it to be shut down. Tensions between commanders Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes rise over Overwatch's current trajectory. The heated argument ends in tragedy as Overwatch's Swiss headquarters explodes, with both Morrison and Reyes inside. The United Nations disbands Overwatch due to the overwhelmingly negative sentiment caused by the allegations of corruption and abuse of power. They ratify the Petrus Act, deeming all Overwatch activity illegal. Few people at the time doubt whether it was the right call. The world has never been more peaceful, and the biggest threat to global stability and growth was, in many minds, Overwatch itself. After years of service, Overwatch's time has come to an end. After burying 3 commanders and countless others, the members of Overwatch scatter across the globe. Reinhardt is forced to retire and decides to travel the European countryside with his new squire, Brigitte Lindholm. Genji, on the other hand, travels to the Himalayas and seeks inner peace under the guidance of Zenyatta. The second OMNIC crisis, estimated to be the year 2071, approximately 5 years before Overwatch reunites. Oddly enough, in the years following Overwatch's shutdown, the global economy surges, and support for OMNIC civil rights and citizenship gains traction. The Shambali monks have even become world celebrities, and still tensions between humans and OMNICs are high in parts of the world. On the eve of a weightlifting tournament in Russia where our own Zarya is competing, the Siberian Omnium reactivates once again and launches the first attacks of the second OMNIC crisis. The war is deadly, with casualties exceeding 15,000 over the next 5 years. Around this time, the vigilante known as Soldier 76 begins stealing equipment from multiple former Overwatch facilities, including a prototype heavy pulse rifle from Watchpoint Grand Mesa in Colorado, USA. D.Va gets drafted. Estimated to be the year 2073, approximately 3 years before Overwatch reunites. The South Korean government has been fending off the colossal OMNIC that plagued their city every few years with drones and automated systems, but after the monster countered this measure by jamming the armored drones, they decided to take mecha in a new direction. The military turned to human-piloted mecha to pilot their new mecha mechs, and desperate for pilots, turned to professional gamers, including the reigning world champion, 16-year-old Hannah Song. The date we came into Overwatch, estimated to be 2076. Winston, hiding in the abandoned Watchpoint Gibraltar base, is attacked by Reaper and a platoon of Talon soldiers. After defeating the hit squad, Winston realizes the world still needs Overwatch, especially with the second OMNIC crisis and Talon's rise in power looming like a dark storm. He sends out a call to all remaining Overwatch personnel, as well as the call to arms we see in the animated short Are You With Us? Then, the museum attack that we see take place in the Overwatch cinematic trailer occurs. Widowmaker and Reaper attempt to steal the Doomfist gauntlet, but are thwarted by Tracer and Winston, in Overwatch's first public appearance in years. Some are excited by the return, but others are worried, to say the least. Either way, Overwatch re-emerges onto the world stage as a force for good and hope. That's it for now. I'm Alvalance with the Leaderboard, and that's everything leading up to current Overwatch. If you liked this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you're still pushing that payload for more Overwatch, check out our Then vs. Now video on Overwatch.